Well, one of the things that we're going to start doing here on Good Morning Fort Sill is highlighting various units across the installations in our viewing area.
Not only will this showcase what the brave servicemen and women do every day in our local installations, but it also lets us provide those not affiliated with the military to get a better idea of what goes on behind the gates. I recently had the opportunity to sit down with the commander of the 434th Field Artillery Brigade on Fort Sill, Colonel Reg White, to talk about his unit's mission. Even though Fort Sill does have several deployable units, its primary mission is to conduct initial training for America's newest heroes. Fort Sill is just one of 4 installations across the Army that hosts basic combat training, where soldiers begin their journey. Here at Fort Sill, basic combat training is run by the 434th Field Artillery Brigade.
The brigade is part of the Fire Center of Excellence here at Fort Sill. Our mission is basic combat training. So we take civilians and process them into the Army and turn them into soldiers. That's the basis of our brigade mission. We do that over the course of 10 weeks. So basic combat training from tip to tail is 10 weeks. And in the course of a fiscal year, we train about 17,000 U.S. citizens to be United States Army soldiers.
Drill sergeants in the various cadre that support basic combat training do some heavy lifting to ensure that our nation's sons and daughters are ready for the dangers of combat.
Drill sergeants and those that support those teams, and even the officers, they come in about 03 to 04 in the morning. They're out of here at like 2200, so 10 o'clock at night on a recurring basis. So if you're talking about a high stress work, in a highest stress work week, we calculate it out to be about 108 hours.
The brigade has a number of programs and services to help cadre in such a high stress environment. The Army's Holistic Health and Fitness program is heavily utilized by the unit to assist cadre so they can be their absolute best in both their personal and professional lives.
We had the Holistic Health and Fitness team headed by Mr. Brian Christensen, and they go over the 5 domains of holistic health and fitness. So the physical, the mental, the spiritual, the behavioral, and then the cognitive piece. And then with all that, having those professionals in our organization, they can look at the soldiers holistically and then tell them what they need to kind of sustain themselves, throughout the mission.
Well, we certainly appreciate Colonel White for taking the time to speak with us today. You've got more coming up at the 434th, right?
So we do. I do appreciate Colonel White for taking the time to talk with me. He and his team are great. They do a lot of amazing work. We will highlight the 434th Field Artillery Brigade coming up here in the next few weeks. Go a little bit more in depth on what our drill sergeants in the cadre do to train our newest soldiers, as well as what they do to balance that, kind of do work-life balance, right? It's extremely stressful. As you heard, they did a calculation in that interview there. 108 hours is what they kind of calculate on your average cadre, those drill sergeants, during a week while they're in cycle. That's a lot of work right there.
Yeah, looking forward to that in the coming weeks for sure.